American TESOL Presents Free Friday webinars. I'm your hostess, Shelly Sanchez-Terrell, and we are here every Friday because of American TESOL. And you can find our courses, which offer you certifications in teaching with technology, teaching TESOL Advanced, teaching business English, and also young learners. You can find that at americantesol.com. We also have a lot of resources there. And if you go to our YouTube channel, you can find the recordings of over 100 webinars that we have been conducting for the past, I think, 7 years or more. So that I've been doing this. So it's pretty exciting. Today, I want to talk to you about a new topic because this is something that I've recently started doing with my students this year, and it's really helped in my English classes, with the writing and reading. But you can use this for, you can use these also as well to help learners in all subjects. And this is Google add-ons. So Google often updates and makes changes to their different platforms. And if you're familiar with Google Docs, which is a lot like Microsoft Word or any kind of writing software, except it's all online and it's in the cloud, and so it offers your students a lot of different cool features. And one of the features that they really love, by the way, this is free and free for your students, are add-ons. And I'm going to let you know a little about what those are if you're not familiar, and how to get them and how your students can get them and why they're really beneficial. If you're familiar with extensions, which I've done a webinar in the past about Google extensions, I have to say that I like them a lot better than extensions at the moment. Extensions do offer a lot of free things and great things you can do, but I'm going to show you how an add-on really works with our learners today, because the difference is, with an extension, you have to get approval a lot of times from the administrator, the network administrator. Sometimes there's a lot of filtering and things like that that will prevent extensions. And so add-ons can be the answer to that. So if you have an IT department that's pretty slow or not very keen on letting you go through the filtering extensions and things like that, then it's good to be able to do add-ons, because you don't really need them to approve anything. All you have to do is approve your Google account with it. So you will need a free Google account. That is one thing. Your students will need a free Google account as well to be able to use add-ons. But as you can see, there's a lot of different ways that add-ons help them. They help them especially with reading and writing. That's what I'm using them with. I have language learners. I have students that are just freshmen in college that just struggle with writing. I have students, I have a lot of students that are deemed DSS, which is disability services, that have dyslexia or ADHD and things like that. So add-ons can help with that as well. They help a lot with research, and we do a lot of research in my classes, grammar, translation, math, note-taking, any type of subject you have, science, history, geography, they have an add-on for that. So they have tons of add-ons. It's almost like the App Store, you know, where you can download apps for your mobile device. Well, you can think of that, an add-on, sort of like that. It's sort of like apps for your Google Docs and your documents, spreadsheets, and forms. So that's mostly where you can get add-ons: documents, spreadsheets, and forms. They're not on everything. I didn't see them on slides. I haven't seen them on Google Draw and some of the other great tools, but they do have quite a few for Docs, Google Docs, and forms. Spreadsheets only has very few add-ons, but I'll show you how to get all of them and what they do. So an add-on, it shows you here, if you open Google Docs, you go to any of your documents, it doesn't matter which one, to get the actual add-on. So what you have to do is you have to go on the very top, and it says add-ons. And then you go to the bottom and you click get add-ons. Now on yours, it's going to be empty. Those are all the ones that I have on mine. What is really great about an add-on is that it's always there. Once you add it, then it's there for every single document your students create. And that's really, really awesome. And the reason why is because, like, for example, this one, MLA formatting. All my students have to have MLA formatting. So anytime they need to type a document and it needs to be in MLA format, they can just click this extension and then they can launch it, and then it'll automatically set their paper to MLA format. So it's very, very, very useful. Anytime they need to translate any single document, they can have that available. So there's so many, and I'm going to show you the few that I like and how to get them. So when you click on, so let's go back to this slide. When you actually click on add-ons, and then you go to where it says get add-ons, the next thing that's going to pop up is this box. This is going to pop over your Google Docs, and then you can search for an add-on. So it depends what kind of add-on you're looking at. You can click on Mind Map. You can type in the word writing. You can type in the word language. You can type in the word grammar. You can type in the word highlighting, math, just anything like that. So you are able to pretty much come up with a lot of different, just think of something that you think would be really great and useful for your Google Documents. The reason I started this was because I was searching for a way that my students could check their grammar. My students are getting points off because they don't capitalize the letter I, or, you know, some very simple things like capitalizing the first word of a sentence. And it's not a lot of them are so used to the it being corrected that they don't realize that in some, you know, instances it just doesn't correct them. So I wanted to find a better grammar tool for them so that way they could pay attention and fix their grammar and things like that. So that's how I came about this. And so I typed in grammar, and there's a whole bunch of ones that I found. Another way is that you can click on the category and it's going to show you. It's going to say social media, it's going to say math, it's going to say education. It's going to give you a lot of different categories, and you can search that way and you can see what it is. But then also when you click over it, it's going to tell you a description. It's going to give you a description. It's also going to tell you how many users. So that's a good indication if it's a good add-on or not. When you click your actual category and click enter, it gives you this kind of view. So what it does is it tells you what so I typed math here because I'm not going to show you a lot of math ones. It gives you a description. It tells you what it is. It clicks, you can click for free. And when you click that, that means you add it. It tells you what kind, how many ratings it has. I went through the ratings, and if a lot of people used it, that's the way I tested them. Because they are free, just like the App Store, not everything you get free is that great. Sometimes you'll get an app and you'll say, oh, this is terrible. It's not very user-friendly. It doesn't do a lot. And I found that with some add-ons, not necessarily for math, but for writing, grammar. I found some that just were terrible. They didn't really do anything. So I'm going to show you the ones that I recommend. But that's why it's important to look at the rating and the number of users. And in some instances, I did find that the rating, if it was a high rating and a low amount of users, it still worked out really well. So even if it has a low amount of users, but it has a very high rating, then it still can be a really, really great app. So I would look at the rating. So here we can see that 111 people thought it was only 2.5. So this might not be one you want to try right away because it only got 2.5 in the rating, whereas this one had 3. So that kind of lets you know, so that way you don't waste your time. You know, everyday people just make up these add-ons. They think, oh, well, if I had this add-on to help me grade faster, to help me create a rubric, and then so you never know which one's going to be that great. So when I typed in grammar, there was quite a few I found. These were not the top ones in grammar, the ones that I chose. So language tool and GradeProof, I liked a lot. These were the ones that I thought were the best as far as grammar went. There were some other ones, and I didn't think they were that good, even though they were highly rated. they weren't as good as these. So these are the ones that I would recommend for grammar, which is the language tool and the proofreading. This one is the one that I have my students use. It uses artificial intelligence to proofread. It won't correct every mistake. So that's one of the great things about this, because a lot of teachers fear, oh, well, my students use a grammar check. Are they going to still learn grammar? I say they do every time they correct their grammar. But the other part about it is it doesn't correct everything, but it does point out some errors that they may consistently have that they can say, okay, I need to really pay attention to capitalizing, or I really need to pay attention to the way I use adverbs or the way I use adjectives. And it only points out a few. It doesn't point out all of them. So that's important to note. So I click it, and once you click it and it's installed, it says manage. It turns to manage. And then you'll find it over here, okay? So the first one I want to show you is GrecoMarks. GrecoMarks is one of my favorite add-ons that I just found. GrecoMarks makes it easier to highlight and make comments. So if you tried highlighting and doing comments on Google Docs, then you click here, and then you have to go and you have to click highlight. Well, with GrecoMarks, you don't. With GrecoMarks, all you do is you just click. It automatically highlights in whatever color you asked, and it automatically puts a comment box. So you can automatically add a comment. This is a tool that I use to give feedback to all my students. I just, green means that's run-ons, and that way I don't have to keep writing down run-ons. I can search for patterns. It makes it so quick, because the previous way where I was adding comments and things like that just took forever. It took hours. So now with GrecoMarks, it doesn't. This is also the way I have my students annotate their readings. So what they do is when they're reading from the book, we have an online version, and then they can put the online version, and then they can highlight or any articles, or this is how we do feedback for papers as well. So we do a lot with the GrecoMarks tool. Some other recommended add-ons. So the other part about an add-on that I really like is it doesn't require registration. So a lot of extensions do require registration, and for my students, my college students, they don't want to have to sign up for something else. So whenever I can get a free tool where they don't have to sign up, better for me, because then that means that my students will actually use it. And if it's always there on their Google Docs, since they're required to use Google Docs on me, then they can always use they can always click on it. So they don't have to keep okaying it. Once they add the add-on, it's always there in the drop-down menu. So this is the GrecoMarks I was talking about, where it'll highlight automatically for you, and then it automatically adds comment. You can export those comments, so that way they can tell, like a little key guide and stuff. It'll show green is for run-ons and things like that. The other one that was really good that I mentioned earlier was GradeProof Artificial Intelligence, AI for grammar check. So what it does is here it's saying there's 21 spelling errors, there's 9 grammar, there's 8 phrasing, there's 14 eloquence, and then you view the suggestions. And when you view it, it highlights it, and then it tells you, it gives you some options, and it gives you some different types of ways to correct that. And you can decide to correct it, or you can decide not to correct it. And it also has a plagiarism checker, which is good as well, but that's in the pro version. The free version, though, will check your spelling and will check your grammar as well. And you can see here where they have, the student didn't capitalize there, or, how it went. Yes, that's a good question. Is it similar to Grammarly? Grammarly does a lot more, but Grammarly, unfortunately, is not an add-on. And so because it's an extension, that's why I have my students use this one instead, because we can't really get extensions on our computers. It's a little, unless they signed up for a Google Chrome browsers, and I'm trying not to get them. I'm trying to get them to sign up for as little as possible. So that is why we're not using Grammarly. But yeah, Grammarly is an extension. So if you can get extensions, then Grammarly is great. I wonder. I think you have to sign up for Grammarly too. That's the other thing I want to say with Grammarly. Not that it's bad for students to register. I mean, Grammarly will help all the writing and things like that. But with these, they don't have to register. They don't have to make an account. The translation one is really good as well. It'll detect the language. It's like Google Translate, but acts a little bit better. You can see here it does many different types of languages. This could be very useful for teachers as well. If you happen to use a Google this translation, and let's say you're writing a letter to parents and you teach students with multiple languages, you can translate into the other language. I always put a note at the top that says, sorry, this is not the perfect translation, because I used a translator. But most parents can figure out, and sometimes they'll be nice enough to correct it for me. Or a student will be nice enough to correct it for me with the own language. This is the MLA formatting that will automatically put in that format the student's essay. And the reason I do this is because a lot of my students, they just need this for life. And for them to get points taken off, 10 points, I mean, they need every point they can get, because they just don't know, they can't memorize the format or something. It's not really important. They can always use templates and everything like that. What's important is if they know how to format and how to do that. There's also APA, there's Chicago style. These are the organizations that actually determine this. So you'll find these in a lot of writing books and stuff like that. OWL Purdue is really good. It's from the Modern Language Association. So that's what it stands for. Modern Language Association has determined that's the way the format should be. This one is really cool as well. Your students can take any bullet point list and automatically make a mind map with Mindmeister. Mindmeister is one of the best tools out there. They have a free app. They have a free for iOS, for Android. They have a free online system, and they even have a free add-on, which is really cool. So your students can make simple mind maps with their notes and things like that just through the bullet list. And so that can help a lot of students. Sometimes that helps them with the brain and be able to retain information even better. And so it just takes any bullet points and it'll make it into a mind map. Or it can help you too if you want to create a mind map of a lesson or something like that. Let's say you take the main points of any kind of article or text or anything like that, then it makes it so fast to make a mind map. And you can quickly make word clouds as well. You can take any document and automatically on the sidebar make a word cloud. So that's one thing to note about add-ons. Once you click the add-on, you click launch. And when you click launch, it automatically shows up in the sidebar of Google Docs. Okay, and that's where they'll show you all the features and tools like that. Template gallery is really good for teachers and students. What it basically does is just give you a template for anything, for a resume, to make a calendar, to make a lesson plan. It just has a bunch of templates there. So if you need a template, why reinvent the wheel? If you're trying to do a schedule for parents or something like that, you just click on this and it automatically gives you a template that somebody else already did for you. So I love templates. I use them all the time in my work. And it just makes things go faster. And with students as well, I think that they appreciate when you give them templates as well. These are some add-ons for teachers that I think are really, really good add-ons that I tried. So I used to use Kaizana, but the problem with Kaizana is, once again, to receive the comments, my students have to sign up for Kaizana. Well, I'm trying to get where Kaizana does not, like I said, I'm trying to limit as many tools as my students only signed up for 3 tools for me this year. They signed up for Ubuntu, Newsella, and Google. Their Google, Mel, Google Drive, all of that. So those are the only three, and that's what I'm limiting it to, because students get very confused or don't follow directions and things like that. So I really like add-ons. I found this one called Doc Assist. It's not as good as Kaizena, but it does offer you the same value as Kaizena. So you're able to create rubrics, which is really cool. On Kaizena, you can't do that. And you can give feedback with audio and text comments, which is really, really cool. So what you do is you add your audio as a comment. It's sort of like GrecoMarks, where it highlights really quick, and then you add the comment in audio if you want, and then you just download the PDF. You attach it to the students. We have a forum on Canvas, so we use Canvas, and when we do that, or Canva actually, and when we use that LMS, it's so easy. I just attach the PDF, and it has like that little sound box. So when my students take a look at their papers, they see the little sound box, and they can look for it. They can actually listen to it. So Doc Assist gives you that workaround where you can still add comments, and your students, they just see your PDF and they can listen to the comments from the PDF. So I really love that. Yeah, and I like that it has text comments as well. I think that's really good. So with Google Docs, unfortunately, one of the things that really is not that great with Google Docs is that they give you these long URLs. They just are forever. And so if you want a quick URL for students to just be able to use a template, or be able to use, for example, you want them to just find, a handout or something really quick, then this one's really good for teachers because it's just a URL shortener. You just click it and it automatically gives you the shortened URL. So that's really a good way to do things fast. How many of you flip the classroom? Now, flipping the classroom, we did a webinar on that too. And what that is where you have a video lesson where you add videos, and then your students learn with that video. Sometimes you have a quiz. Sometimes you have them do a sketch note of it. Sometimes they do some kind of problem with it. I mean, you do a lot of that. So DocuTube is really cool. So what it does is it automatically adds your YouTube video in the Google Doc. So you can keep the entire lesson within Google Docs. This would be a really great way to be able to do HyperDocs, because what it does is you have two options when you use DocuTube. On the right side, it'll either on the sidebar, it'll come out with the video on the side, and so you have all the lesson, and if they have questions, if they have an essay, if they have notes or anything on the left side, on the actual document, they can put all that. And it doesn't leave the Google Doc. The video's right there. So it can be in the sidebar, or you can decide for it to be a pop-up. So once all you do is you put the link inside the Google Doc, and it does either option you decide. So it'll just pop up in the window right there, and then they can see it. This is a really great idea too, because a lot of times we like videos from YouTube, but we don't like the comments on that video. So this is a good way to shield them from seeing any of those comments or the ugliness or anything on YouTube, because it's the video that comes up, and then they can watch it. So DocuTube is a great way to flip the classroom, to have video lessons, to have them take notes on a video, do a sketch note, whatever. And it's really, really just a really great one to see. I like it a lot. Spreadsheets and forms. So I'll show you those really quick. Formula is the best one. I talk about Formula all the time. I use this all the time for all my students. I really love Formula. Formula, what it does is it takes any kind of form. If you have the name, the first and last name, I usually have first name, last name, the email address, and then different types of columns. And it'll send an email to anyone on that form, and then it tailors it. So for example, if I want to send the same email to all my students, let's say I want to send them the same email and I want to let them know about their current grade. Well, I don't want to have to send 50 students an email saying, oh, you know, and go and put their grade and everything like that. Even if I copy and paste the same email, that takes forever. With Formula, you don't have to do that. You send the same email, and whatever is in the column for the grade, that's what goes on. It automatically puts that in the email. Whatever is in the column for the first name, so you just do dear first name, and it automatically put that student's first name. You just need one form, and it does all of that for you. You can send up to 100 emails in one day. If parents sign it, then you can send every parent an email all the time, quite regularly. So every week I send my students an email letting them know, you know, what assignments are due, what's the grades. And all I ever do is I just copy and paste whatever spreadsheet is on my LMS, and I just copy it into Google Docs, and then I just send them the email from there. And I prefer it. It goes so fast. I mean, it's, you know, it takes me maybe 5 minutes to make the email, and then it just sends it to all of them at one time. So I really like that as well. You can also have add-ons for forms, and this is a little tricky. Peggy George was mentioning that earlier, and so it's different than the add-ons for Google Docs. So you notice with spreadsheets, so spreadsheets, the only one that I talked about was Formula because there's like 2 or 3. There's not a lot of add-ons for spreadsheets, but the spreadsheet one is at the top. The add-on is right at the top, like where Docs is. It says add-on. But for form, you have to click this little 3 dots and then go to the very bottom, and that's where you're going to find add-ons. And I think right here as well. You can, so when you install the add-on, then that's where the add-on you'll find it. Okay, so it's a little bit different. So the add-on is actually with the dot, 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 dot. Okay, and then you click on it, and then you get to the store, and they have tons of add-ons for forms as well. One of them is that I've used in the past is Form Scheduler. It's really good. So what it does is it sets a time. So let's say I'm doing research and I have a survey, and you know when you tweet a survey out or anything like that, and then people just keep answering it. Well, on this one, you can actually put when you stop taking entries. You can even write where how many. So like let's say that you only need 100 emails. 100 people to sign the survey. Once it reaches 100, it'll automatically close that for you, so you don't have to keep checking up on it. Here's a really good useful one that'll create a QR code for your form. So that's really can be helpful too. Let's say that you want your students to give you feedback, or let's say your students are searching for feedback after a poster presentation they give or something. So they could put the QR code that links to their actual form. So here we have form, and here we have the form limiter. That's the one that I have. There's one that's called Populate Docs. What that one is supposed to do is supposed to take anything from Google Docs and it makes it into a form. I found it a little tricky, so that one is not as user-friendly as the rest, but you can technically create your form on Google Docs, and it'll just, or if you see something you say, wow, this would be a better form than this doc, I would like my students to be able to add to this, which can be useful for quizzes. So that's what that one is. So what it'll do is it'll take it from the Google Doc, the information, and it'll turn it into it'll make it into a form. So that can be very useful. Okay, that's a good question. Does it take a lot of computer memory if you have a lot of add-ons? If you have a lot of extensions, it slows your browser down. Yes, that's why you don't want to do too many. It doesn't that much, really. I find that it's a lot less. It's not necessarily computer memory as it is. It may slow down it loading, but it hasn't been an issue for me, and we don't have very fast Wi-Fi at my university, and it hasn't been the issue like it sometimes is with extensions. If you have too many extensions, it definitely slows your browser down. So an add-on, not the same. And you saw how many add-ons I had. I had a ton of them. So it still worked really well. Yes, I think so. In my opinion, the extension slows down the browser a lot more than add-on, which is why you use an extension called Extensity, because that will allow you to turn it off. So that's a good question because you don't want to slow down your browser. And also, that's why I'm very picky of what add-ons my students have. My students have added on, they have 3 add-ons. They do the GrecoMarks because we annotate every single reading we do. And also, it's a great way to give feedback and stuff. But the other one we have, they can do MLA formatting, and then they have one for their grammar, which is the GradeProof AI. And none of those they had to register for. All they had to do was launch it. So it was pretty easy for them once they got the hold of it. And they were really impressed. They think I'm a tech genius, but also they just enjoy that they're able to um, get that help all the time, because not only in my class do they have to do these things, they have to check their grammar, they have to write an MLA format, and they have to be able to and probably annotate. All of that is useful in other classes as well. So you can, this is the one for the QR code maker where it automatically turns it into a QR code, so you can see that. And here's the form scheduler one. So a lot of add-ons, just to note. So the reason you want to test out my suggestion would be test out the add-on before you assign it to your students. So you can see if it makes you register. Not all add-ons, the ones I showed you, you don't have to register for. But you have to make sure that you click on the add-on, because if you go to the company, if, for example, if you go to GrecoMarks, their webpage, it's going to tell you you need to register. So you have to do it through the add-on store, and you do that through through Google Docs. You just click on add-on, get add-on, and you go through that process. But I did have a teacher mention that she had to sign up, and it was because she went through the website and not the add-on. So that's one tip. The other tip is test it out, make sure that it works and does what you hope it does before you have your students use it. I learned that the hard way with the grammar. I actually had one of my students use another grammar add-on, and it made them register. And then we went through all the hassle, and then it only allowed her 14 days. It was a free trial for 14 days. So that was kind of a waste of a time for that add-on. And so now I test all my add-ons and make sure that when I'm recommending them, that I've tested them out first. Because there's no sense in getting them a free trial if I want to make sure they use this for life. You know, they need to check their grammar for life, not for 14 days. And then I want to tell you really quick before I go, there's also things called apps on Google, and those will be for slide shares. They will be, for slide presentations, they'll be for Google Drawing, for all kinds of things. And you can get those apps if you go to the front page of your Google Drive, go all the way to the end where it says more, and all the way after you get this little pop-up box and click connect more apps. These are really good. These are ways to, one of the ones me and my students use, that's an app, is called Cami. It's another way to annotate, it's another way to highlight, it's another way to give feedback, and sometimes my students prefer that. But I do think they had to register, the ones that decided to use that one instead. So thank you so much for attending. I hope you learned a lot today. I hope you test some of these add-ons, because they can be very useful and helpful for you with your lesson plans and gradings. They have a whole bunch for rubric making, lesson plans, so many different add-ons for teachers to help them grade and to make life go much teacher life a lot easier. So I definitely recommend using them and learning them because they save you a lot of time. And if you haven't tried Google, you can always go to shellyterrell.com/Google, and you can find some other tips for using Google. I think it saved me so much time. It makes me a more productive, better teacher. It allows me to give more personalized feedback to students.